Welcome to the last day of the Spinnaker Summit. Thank you for being here this morning. I really appreciate it. About 3 months ago, I was speaking to an executive at JP Chase, and in this room, it's myself and 3 other executives from Armory, and we are selling Spinnaker. We're going through the features, telling her about blue-green, canary, and rollbacks, all the things that you would expect when you talk about Spinnaker. And as I'm going through that, she interrupts me and she says something to me that I just didn't really expect for her to say, which she said, while Spinnaker is a great piece of technology, the reason we are standardizing on Spinnaker and we are supporting Spinnaker is because of the people and the community. And I absolutely love that response. And what it means is really that she is choosing Spinnaker because of all the people in this room, not just the contributors and people who write code, but also the users, the evangelists, the people who write documentation, Pete, who helped put this whole summit together, and everybody who supports Spinnaker in their own way. And I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. And that is why we're all here today. Really, if you think about the Spinnaker Summit, it is a celebration of the community. It is a celebration of everything that we've done this year. And it's also an opportunity for us to align together about what we're going to do next year. So here are some of the contributors, some of the world's largest cloud providers contributing code to Spinnaker. So who knows Kubernetes better than Google? Who knows Lambda and ECS better than Amazon? Nobody does. This is what sets us apart. We have the world's best cloud engineers contributing to Spinnaker. But we also have some of the world's best users, most progressive users using Spinnaker, right? They are dealing with challenges at massive scale. And while those challenges are complex and important, what I really love about our users and our community is actually the compassion that you guys show to each other every single day in Slack. And I see it. None of you have to help each other, but you do. You help each other through those problems that you've experienced before, because there's no way the core set of just contributors can support the massive set of users that are using Spinnaker, and I love that. You also show up to SIG meetings to give feedback. You issue a lot of bug reports, which is great, so we can fix them. You issue new RFCs, new ideas to help us understand what it is you need in order to be successful with Spinnaker. So this is a quote by a famous management consultant named Peter Drucker. He has many books out. I'm sure some of you have probably read some of his books. And what he's saying here is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what that means to me, really, is that anybody can copy our features. And they're open source. You can literally copy and paste our features and put them somewhere else. Anybody can copy our roadmap. Our roadmap is publicly available for you to see exactly what we're going to build next. But what you can't copy and you can't take from us is our culture. It's our community, the things that we stand for, our values. That is what is unique to us, and you can't take that from us. So what is our culture? And before we talk about our culture, let's talk about culture in general. So what is culture? Culture is something that you can't really touch, but you can feel it. So let me ask you guys, has anybody been part of a toxic culture? Just raise your hand. Right. Now, the thing about that, most of you raise your hand, and if you didn't raise your hand, that's good. The thing about that is that nobody intends to build a toxic culture. It's actually the lack of intention that results in a toxic culture. And so we as a community, we want to be intentional about the community and the cultural values that we're building. And what culture means to us is how we work together, how we make decisions when difficult and challenging problems arise. It's also how we come together and how we show up for each other. Oh, I got it there. Nice. So a while back, when we first started Armory, I asked Andy why he chose to open source Spinnaker at Netflix. And one of the things he said to me was that Netflix could actually learn faster and bring in the learnings from the community than doing it on their own. right? He valued the openness that was out there, and he said we could do this better together. And that was pretty great because he had to actually open source some proprietary technology to Netflix that competitors were eventually going to get a hold of. But really what this meant, what this prioritized for us, is learning, and that we're better together than we are apart. We also believe in learning moments. So I was originally going to title this slide, Failure is Okay, but I realized that failure is actually only a failure if you don't take the opportunity to learn. And so I changed this to learning moments, and I think that's really what we're about, right? We're about minimizing the impact of accidents and learning from them so that we can iterate and quickly move, right? Reducing catastrophic failures and moving into things like fender benders so we can not be stopped by crazy errors in production. So we also need to talk about the things that we aren't and the things that we don't value. Culture also encompasses that. And it reminded me of the stoplight. Now, stoplight also has really good intention, but it has some serious flaws. For example, 15% of all fatalities on the road happen at an intersection with a stoplight. It also has a hard dependency on electricity. When electricity is out, it no longer works. It also has to have perfect timing. If the timing is off by just a little bit, serious problems could arise. And worse yet, it actually incentivizes us to do the wrong thing. Who's actually stood up at a yellow light? If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying. And even the slightest distraction could cause catastrophic results. And the basic assumption of a traffic light is that you cannot be trusted. That somebody else is going to be making those decisions for you based on static context. And we believe that there's a better way and a better analogy for who we are, which is a roundabout. A roundabout actually puts the emphasis and the responsibility of the drivers to merge in and out. There's no dependency on electricity, it's just a circle. The timing, there's no centralized timing, it's all decentralized to the drivers. The drivers are making the decision in real time based on the conditions on the road. So it's based on some loose rules. We empower the people on the road to make those decisions. It accounts for any road conditions, pedestrians, anything that's out there, people riding bikes. Again, when you empower the driver, right, we can let go of all these other things like electricity and centralized timing. It actually incentivizes you to do the right thing. When you enter a roundabout, you don't speed up like you do with the yellow light. You enter with safety and intent. You're aware. And the basic assumption here is that you are to be trusted. This is something that Andy's talked a lot about, which is context over control. And we want to empower these developers with information. We want to empower drivers with information to let them make the right decision. We don't want to take those rights away from you. We also believe in safety. So in 1930, we introduced seatbelts, and in 1985, we also made them mandatory. And in both of those times, accidents actually went up, not down. And it was really interesting to me to figure out what was happening in this time. And what was happening was that while accidents went up, there were minor accidents. There were fender benders. But what went way down were catastrophic events. Failures, deaths, fatalities. So we injected safety. And what ended up happening was we got psychological safety, we have physical safety, and we ended up driving faster. We got from point A to point B faster. And that's ultimately what we want. And absolutely we're going to get into some accidents, but it's okay as long as they're minor accidents and fender benders. So one of the things that we firmly believe in is that safety enables velocity, and that we're not choosing between the two. This is another thing that you'll hear Andy say a lot, guardrails over gates. And the reason this is important is the guardrails kind of tell us the best known path to date, right? But we don't want to enforce the fact that we know best. We know that as our contexts and our situations change, as we learn, we're going to want to change this. But how do we learn? We learn by experimenting, we learn by moving off the best practice path. We try new things. And if we are enforcing what we know, then we don't ever try new things. And this is really important for us to have as a value. And all of these values are actually embodied in Spinnaker, and you'll see them throughout the product. We give you context, so you have information about what's running in production, what versions are there, what container version is there, load balancer, services, security, networking. We'll tell you how that code got there in the first place, who deployed it, when it was deployed, what triggered it, what system sent it, what Git hash is there. We also have the guardrails, which are these deployment windows. And it doesn't stop you from deploying into production. It'll inform you that this is probably not the best time to deploy Friday night at 6 p.m. But if you need to, in case of emergency, you will. We also have these happy little accidents in production that we can call canarying, right? Trying things out in production is okay, as long as they're not catastrophic events. We also integrate with Chaos Monkey. We have resiliency. It's something that we absolutely care about. And in that roundabout example, really it's a resilient system. Regardless of the conditions, the drivers adapt to the situation. So what do we believe in? We believe in empowering developers, that you trust your developers to make the right decision. That we are not choosing between safety and velocity. Safety enables velocity. Context over control, that we will give you information for you, the driver, to make the right decision. Guardrails over gates, because we want to empower people to innovate and try new things. We want to minimize catastrophic events, but we don't want to avoid them altogether. We want to make sure that we're doing things safely. And we want to focus on things like resiliency. We want to iterate and learn and inject errors and see how we react to them. So this creates a flywheel effect. And this flywheel effect that we have in our community is embodied in our opinionated platform that we call Spinnaker. That is consumed by enterprises and businesses that also help them go through this transformation and change that our entire industry is going through right now. As they learn and as they gain value from Spinnaker and they see their companies change, they'll join our community too. And we'll grow and we'll scale, and that will have our values in the community adapt. And around we go. And the thing about a flywheel is that you can actually invest in any area of the flywheel and it'll actually make it go faster. And once a flywheel has momentum, it's really, really hard to stop. And that is what we're building. And I've seen this for the last 3 years in this summit. As we continue to grow, our values continue to deepen, we continue to learn faster than anybody else. I also wanted to give thanks to the Technical Oversight Committee. So if you're one of these 5 people, could you please stand up? I know Ethan is here. Let's give him a round of applause. And let me tell you why we're giving them a round of applause. Because they are the ones that have to take all of the values that we want to have in the community and actually put it into practice. And believe it or not, it's actually hard to get Google, Netflix, Amazon, and Armory to all do the same thing and go in the same direction. And it's not easy. And so I'm very appreciative of these people who are doing work every single day to make sure that we are all working well together and that we all embody these values. So I want to end on this. So there's this moment, this really beautiful moment that happens in humanity. It's, you're on the road, you're in the car, and you hear the sirens coming. It's going, and you look in your rearview mirror, and cars start to part ways. And then, of course, you part ways. You go into the shoulder lane. And in that moment, when that ambulance is speeding by, what we've done is that we've put the needs of somebody else above our own. We've collectively created this path for this ambulance to go on by. And this, I believe, is what we need more of in our community. We need to elevate our community above the needs of our own. And the more we do that, the stronger our community will be, because ultimately, what sets Spinnaker and our community apart from anybody else is us. And the stronger that we are, and the better that we are, the better Spinnaker and the community will be. So thank you.